Hello, guys, and welcome back once again to Transfer Talk here on Sweet and Sour Soccer. You've probably seen the thumbnail. We are forever improving, aren't we? This is what we do. We've hopefully got intros coming soon, outros, the whole shebang. Speaking of the whole shebang, today has actually been an amazing day for transfers.
Yeah.
Scott, I'm going to throw it straight over for yourself. Straight into United. They've done business on Sancho. It looks like Varane is almost done. And a replacement midfielder in Goretzka.
Yeah, it's a big news story breaking out. Of course, they're looking at Goretzka, who's going to be a possible replacement if Paul Pogba does decide to leave. Of course,
Yeah.
Pogba's only got a year left on his contract. PSG have linked to Pogba, and apparently they're willing to pay as much as 50 million for someone that's only got 1 year left on his contract. For me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. I think United fans, in a way, some of them want to see the back of him anyway. And I think Goretzka is going to be a great replacement if they manage to pull that off.
Absolutely. I mean, Goretzka's still getting on in age a little bit, but, he's got plenty more to offer. And PSG, it's not actually a bad business deal. They got Donnarumma on a free, Sergio Ramos, Gini Wijnaldum, so they can afford to loosen the purse strings a little bit. So, yeah, a lot of things happen at United. I do fancy them next season. Also, you mentioned Pogba going to PSG. We're going to save this one. We spoke about saving it. But fuck it, let's just jump into it. Another player that's been linked to PSG, Jordan Henderson, for as little as £18 million. Apparently, Jordan Henderson is stalling on contract negotiations, probably not getting what he thinks he should, or at his age, 30, 31, does he want a longer contract? It seems cheap for Jordan Henderson.
I mean, just on that, I believe it's probably similar to the Wijnaldum situation. He wanted a 3-year deal. Liverpool were only prepared to offer 2. That seems to be their stance. But when you look at Jordan Henderson and how long he's been at the club, you kind of feel that he maybe deserves that extra, he deserves that extra year. And it just comes across as me, someone that you'd want in the backroom staff. You wanted him to finish his
100%.
career there. If it was me personally and it's arguing over an extra year, I'd just give him that year, in my opinion. But yeah, been linked to Arsenal yesterday and PSG today. And as you say, such a low fee. Going to be an interesting one. I believe he'll probably prefer to want to stay at Liverpool if a deal can be done. I don't know if he will want to go to play in France this late on his career. Maybe he wants to find somewhere where, he feels that he can spend the rest of his career, obviously 31 years of age now. And look, it's definitely got a future in either coaching or even as a manager for me.
I agree. And with what you said in regards to just giving him the third year, even in that third year, he'll be, 33, 34? It's not like he's going to be out of the game. Look at Liverpool, James Milner, other players who have played for a long time. Even if he doesn't play that much in that last season on his contract, it'll be so good to have around the dressing room. Didn't play that much at the Euros, but apparently he was a breath of fresh air for all the young lads. And we know how many young players Liverpool have coming through their academy. So it would be a mistake in my eyes. Let's go over to Newcastle, who are apparently interested in bringing in a Southampton player who was on loan last season at Fulham, and that's Lamina. Apparently for £4 million. As a Wolves fan, this is a signing that I'd love to have as a squad player, but I still think he could do some business on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good signing for Newcastle. The only worrying thing you'd wonder is that going to be instead of Willock, which obviously they want that signing. Bad news for Newcastle this week. Obviously, the ownership has been stalled yet again. Apparently, that's not even going to be reviewed until next year, which means Mike Ashley is going to be at the club at least till next season. And apparently, he really doesn't want to put much in, which, shock horror. But Lamina, if you've got such a limited budget, Lamina at £4 million for me sounds like a good buy, but I can understand Newcastle fans may be a little disappointed if that does mean they won't be signing Joe Willock.
You don't want it to be an and or. You want it to be both kind of thing, don't you? Yeah. Really bolster the squad. Let's move on to North London now. And I need to just double check his name. Pierluigi Gallina. It's the Atlanta goalkeeper.
You've done better than I could have with that.
Yeah, I definitely took one for there for you. It's an Atlanta goalkeeper, very young, rated quite highly over there. But I think he's just, as we're doing this video very recently, only a few hours ago, he passed the first stage of his Tottenham medical. It would be a season-long loan, and there would be a fee of around 13 or 14 million pounds. Should he? Now, this is the caveat. This is what's interesting. They would pay the fee if he makes a certain amount of appearances, which makes me think, why would you agree to have that clause as Tottenham if in the back of your mind, Lloris is your goalkeeper for next season? Because if Lloris is your number one, you expect your backup keeper to make 4 or 5 appearances in cup games. Well, I mean, this is Spurs. They don't play many cup games, so 2 or 3 cup games. So do you not think it's weird that there's they can buy him, the term's gone out of my head, but only if he plays a certain amount of appearances as a backup keeper?
I think that clause in the contract's very odd, but I think it's a bit of Levy having that, like, he's just pulling off a deal, isn't he? That's what he does. I think his club would still be hopeful no matter what, that maybe they would have him. The price that's being paid isn't much for a backup keeper. Obviously, quite. And I feel Lloris, maybe you question how many years he's got left in. And if he's going to challenge and compete for that number one place, or maybe just replace him in a couple of years' time, I think it's a good signing. I think it's a good signing for Tottenham.
I don't disagree with that. At all. If we take it a bit lower to the bottom of the Premier League, and then I know you've got a few stories as well that you want to bring up too. Good news. I like this guy, Daniel Farke. He signed a 4-year extension, it's a 4-year deal with Norwich, keeping him at the club until 2025. Signed with them in 2017, 2 promotions. I think this guy is a breath of fresh air for the league. I love listening to him in interviews. I think he plays good football. I'm excited for Norwich that they've got him again to learn from his previous mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, credit to Norwich, because let's face it, last time they were in the Prem, it did not go to plan at all. The points they ended up with, obviously going down.
But look where they are now. Look where they are compared to Cardiff, Huddersfield, all these other clubs that just get rid of the manager.
And that's the key, isn't it? They could have, at that point, they probably could have got rid of him. They said, no, we believe you're the man to get us back up. And he delivered on that, and he delivered on that very well.
4-year deal on the back of a promotion, a 4-year... Normally, clubs give them like an extra year or 2, don't they? So it's cheaper to let them go. But 4 years indicates to me, if they go down again, they probably won't get rid of him.
No. And, Norwich are looking, for me, they've got a bit more experience now than last time.
Yep.
I think they could easily stay up. And, moving on to the next story, you look at Brentford, who are moving very shrewdly again. With
Shrewdly.
I knew I'd got that out wrong, but I was hoping you're just going to let it stand, but that's not you, is it?
I can't let it stand. I cannot let it stand.
But they've signed Adjo, haven't they, from Celtic?
Yeah, good signing.
Very, very good signing for me. 13 million, I believe. 13.5 was supposed to be the fee. It's one of them with this the promotion. They're going to have to shore up the defence, and it's a very good signing. I think, Brentford spend money well, and they also sell players on well. It's promising for them, but no one's really gone in for an Ivan Toney yet, or the fact that they're just sticking with him. Maybe, he might just be happy to play. I mean, he's got his chance in the Premier League. And maybe they don't need to sell now they've got that promotion. So great news for Brentford, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them in the Premier League.
I am. I think they'll be a breath of fresh air, a bit like how Blackpool came up and it was 2-1, 3-2, 4-4 almost every week, wasn't it? Let's move on to Arsenal. We've got a double story here. Again, we mentioned them with Jordan Henderson earlier. This talk of £100 million war chest, if it is a war chest nowadays, it's looking like it could be true for Arsenal. They obviously are very interested in Maddison. And what they've said now is to try and meet Leicester's demand of 50 million, they're willing to offer cash plus player. Now, we don't know what the cash amount is including the deal, but the player would be Maitland-Niles, a player that Wolves are linked with heavily in January and last summer. A player that I do like, but I can't imagine they'd offer much more than 30, 35 million with Maitland-Niles. And again, this Leicester story with Maddison and Arsenal, it's dragged on a little bit, hasn't it? Not quite as long as Sancho, but it's dragging on now.
It's a weird one, actually, because I saw that, I saw a story that Leicester fans were saying they'd want 50 million plus Maitland-Niles. They value Maddison really highly. And again, it's an interesting one. Would they be happy with Maitland-Niles? I mean, Leicester need to beef out the squad a bit, don't they? Obviously, we've seen them drop off towards the end of the season twice now. They've got Europe to deal with as well. This signing for me, I'm still not impressed with it. I still don't think Leicester fans would be too happy about it. I feel that there's maybe better players that could be included in the deal, or there's just better players that if they had the cash for, they could go and get. It all depends what they value Maitland-Niles at, I guess, Arsenal. How much valuation do they place on him? It's going to be the key factor.
Where Leicester struggled last season, if you remember, was their fullbacks. The likes of James Justin at left back, Pereira at right back, got injured early on in the season. Having a player like Ainsley Maitland-Niles who can cover both fullback positions, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Guys, we'll try and crack on with the next story for you. We've got a few managerial confirmations as well that we want to.
We've got one more Arsenal one yet, haven't we?
Yeah, I just said I've got one more big story left.
Oh. Sorry.
You're embarrassing me in front of the millions of fans. We're going to come back to Arsenal. And again, Mikel Arteta must have said the right things in his job interview to get this type of money, apparent money. Tammy Abraham. Scott, I'm going to let you take this away because we know Arsenal is your second club. Tammy Abraham to Arsenal. I like it.
Second club,
I like it.
But yeah, Tammy Abraham, going to be an interesting one, that is. Chelsea obviously been linked with Lewandowski. They've also obviously been more linked with Haaland, and they're stepping up their bid for Haaland, aren't they? Apparently willing to offer as much as £135 million, which is, So basically, if they get one of these strikers that they're looking at bringing in, Tammy Abraham's going to be surplus to requirements, and Arsenal look to be the ones that are interested. Seeing bids of maybe 40 million would prize him away. I think it's a good signing for Arsenal. They've got the. They need a striker, don't they, that's going to bag goals. I see Tammy Abraham as that. I just don't think he's, at the start of last season, he worked so well under, Frank Lampard. Faded away a bit, maybe not really, I suppose, Tuchel's, favourite striker. So, maybe surplus to requirements if they get a big name. And yeah, Tammy Abraham, for me, I think it would be a great signing for Arsenal.
I see him getting 20 goals at Arsenal. I really do rate Tammy Abraham. We were linked to him a few years ago when he was in the Championship of Villa, and we both said, didn't we, we'd love to sign him when people weren't really raving about him. But I think now people start to see him for the player that he is.
I've got one more Arsenal story, which Arsenal might, really quickly, that Arsenal fans might be massively disappointed with. Ramsdale, I've got to bring it up. Sheffield United are asking for 32 million. Arsenal apparently were willing to pay 30. I mean, this one just, just a quick one. This one, it's not even worth debating, is it? Just about a ridiculous transfer, a ridiculous amount. And I just don't see it myself. I don't think any Arsenal fans would be happy with that. The only ones that are actually rubbing their hands together here are Sheffield United, because 30-odd million? Not for me. And I think let's just leave it at that and move on to the last couple of stories we've got.
I agree. I think you've got one regarding Steve Cooper. You told me about this. He's left Swansea, hasn't he?
Steve Cooper. Swansea fans are going to be gutted. They expected big things from it this season, and then this has happened. Apparently, fallout started around January last year. Obviously, at the time, Steve Cooper was... they were flying, weren't they, in that championship at the time? They lost Morgan Gibbs-White, obviously, at our club. We brought him back off loan. And basically what happened is he wanted a bit of backing. He just said, come on, give me that financial backing to help me get over the line. It didn't happen. And ever since then, there's been that bit of a strange one. I think Cooper was going to basically said, I'll see out the last year of my contract and then I'm gone. And I think they've just come to an agreement that Swansea and him have just gone, you know what, let's just do it now.
I agree. Was there one more manager one?
No, that was all it for manager. The only last story that I've got is Leon Bailey. Keeps getting linked with a move to the Prem, doesn't he? Previously with Everton. I think Arsenal have been mentioned, and also Leicester. Well, the latest one is Aston Villa. who apparently, because they can't get Smith Rowe, they've had multiple bids rejected to Smith Rowe. They're now looking at Leon Bailey, a player for me which I'd be excited to see in the Premier League.
I'm worried about Villa. Honestly, especially being a Midlands club as well. Like, I don't like this absolute mission that they seem to be on. And hopefully not many Villa fans are watching so they can brag about it in the comments. But, Villa next season, they're one to watch. They really are. They really are.
Definitely. They've got money to spend. I don't think they perhaps have the same FFP restrictions as other clubs like ourselves, Everton. I think there's a couple of unders under that umbrella that have those FFP restrictions. Villa haven't quite had that yet. So I think they're free to spend by the looks of it.
I agree. It's disappointing for Wolves. But anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Guys, cheers for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully that thumbnail caught your eye. Please give us a sub. We can't wait to get back to the new season so we can get rid of all this rubbish dead time in between the Euros and the Premier League. Give us a chance. Hit that sub button. Like the video. If you don't like us after a week or two, you can always fuck off again. It costs nothing.
It's free. There's no point doing my outro now. You've done it for me. So I'll just say my classic line of, we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.